Okay, think about this. Pompey the Great, the Roman general, he walks into the Holy of Holies in
Right,
Jerusalem.
the most sacred spot.
Exactly.
Uh,
And he's expecting, I don't know, something incredible, divine, right?
yeah.
But what's there?
Uh, Nothing.
Nothing. It's empty. And it kind of hits you, doesn't it? Sometimes the thing we're looking for, the real substance, it's not obvious, it's hidden.
That's a powerful image. It really makes you think that maybe the real value isn't always right there on the surface, especially when we're trying to learn something or experience something profound. You need to dig a bit.
And that is precisely what we're digging into today, because you, listening right now, you want to get it right. You want to absorb things quickly, thoroughly,
Hmm.
but you've probably had that feeling, maybe in a lecture, or even just someone explaining something, where it just wasn't clicking, like you were missing something important.
Oh, definitely. We've all been there.
Yeah.
Information just kind of washes over you. You feel like there's more, but you can't quite grab it.
Well, this deep dive, we're switching the focus. We're looking at you, the listener. We've got some really interesting material here, actually drawn from thoughts about preachers listening, but honestly, these ideas work for anyone taking in information.
Absolutely applicable across the board.
So our mission today, give you some solid, practical ways to be a better listener, more engaged, more discerning, so you get more out of, well, pretty much any learning situation.
Okay, let's jump in.
All right, so first off, let's talk responsibility. It's really easy to think, oh, that presentation was boring, or I didn't get anything out of that, and put it all on the speaker.
Yeah, that's the default, isn't it? Their faults.
Right. But the sources we looked at, they really stress that you, the listener, are just as crucial in this whole communication thing. It's a two-way street.
That really shifts the perspective. It's not passive. I remember one source mentioned Jesus saying, after that parable of the sower, be careful how you listen. That
Mm-hmm.
that hits differently. It's not just hearing, it's how you do it. Exactly. And there's this theme running through the material, this idea of having ears but not really hearing, or hearing but not understanding, like those references in Mark, Isaiah. It points to a real potential gap between the sound waves hitting your ears and actual understanding happening.
Okay, so if we want to close that gap, hear and understand, what do the sources say? What are the ingredients for actually listening effectively?
Well, one of the big ones is expectation, approaching the information, expecting something valuable. The source puts it in spiritual terms, like expect God to speak, but the principle is broader.
Okay, so even outside a religious setting, it's about being open, believing there is something worthwhile to get.
Precisely. It's about having this mindset that, okay, even if the delivery isn't perfect, there might be a nugget of truth or insight in there. Like you said, panning for gold. You got to believe it's there to keep sifting.
That makes sense. It changes your posture from defensive or critical to receptive.
Yeah, and the source mentions this idea of borrowed authority. The speaker's credibility kind of depends on how true they are to the source material.
Yeah.
But your attitude, that anticipation, really opens the door.
Okay, what's next? This one. Acknowledging our own biases. Oof, that's a big one.
It is, isn't it? Because we all have them.
Mm-hmm.
The sources point out, we walk into any situation with beliefs already formed by our lives, our experiences, and we kind of subconsciously want new info to just confirm what we already think. There's that reference to 2 Timothy 4.3, wanting our ears tickled, basically.
It's like we build these little echo chambers in our heads, but the stuff that really makes us grow, that might be the stuff that challenges those chambers, right?
That's exactly the point.
Yeah.
Insightful communication, the kind that really shifts things, might not always feel comfortable. It might even feel a bit sharp, like that Hebrews reference suggests. That you mention an expert in the law getting offended by something Jesus said. Growth isn't always cozy.
So being aware of our comfort zones and being willing, maybe even eager, to have them pushed a bit. Okay. The next point then is actively checking the message, getting critical.
Yeah, you can't just soak it all in passively. The sources really push for using your critical thinking. Compare what's being said to the actual source material. There's that great line, if it's not in the Bible, don't say it.
And obviously apply that principle anywhere, right? Is the data supporting the claim? Does the interpretation actually fit the text? It's on us, the listeners, to ask, okay, where is this coming from? Does it hold up?
Exactly. Become an active participant in verifying things, not just a receiver.
Okay, next up. Engaging collectively. This feels particularly relevant now with how much we do online versus in person.
It really does. The pandemic shifted so much online. And while that's great for access, the sources really highlight the unique power of being in a room together, hearing something at the same time.
Yeah, there's an energy, isn't there? A shared focus. The source made a distinction I liked, moving from what's God saying to me to what's God saying to us. It broadens the perspective.
It creates accountability, a shared memory. And let's be honest, it's harder to get distracted scrolling your phone when you're physically present with others, focus on the same thing. The sources did mention those pitfalls of virtual consumption.
True. Okay. Which kind of leads into the next point. Listening consistently, not just a one-off thing.
Right. Real understanding, especially for complex stuff,
Yeah.
it often takes time. Repeated exposure. The source compares it to character being shaped gradually by consistent teaching. You need reminders, reinforcement.
Like learning an instrument, you don't nail it in one lesson. You practice. You keep coming back to it. Information needs that too to really sink in and stick.
And then, maybe the most crucial part,
Yeah.
acting on what you learn. What's the point of listening if it doesn't change anything?
Right. Be doers, not just hearers. The goal, according to the sources, isn't just filling our heads with facts. It's about shaping our beliefs and our actions, producing actual fruit.
Yeah, the information should guide us, correct us, equip us. It's meant to have a real impact. And sure, a dynamic speaker helps, but the real value isn't what the message does to you.
Okay, and the final ingredient here. Respond immediately and joyfully. What's the urgency about?
Yeah, the emphasis is on today. Like those texts from Deuteronomy or Psalms, seize the moment. When you hear something valuable, when you get an insight, that's the time to embrace it, to act on it, don't put it off.
So don't just file it away for later. Recognize the opportunity for growth right then and there. And there's a joy in that.
A joy in understanding and aligning with truth and putting it into practice, yes.
Great, that's a great framework.
Okay.
But let's be real. Sometimes the person speaking, well, it's not ideal. What about the really dull presentation? We've all sat through those.
Oh, absolutely, where your eyelids get heavy. The source even mentions someone literally falling asleep during a long talk in Acts.
Huh. Okay, so what do we do then? Besides trying not to nod off.
The advice is, focus hard on the content, even if the delivery is flat. Try with all your might to pull out just one new thing, one useful point, and maybe talk about it with someone afterwards that can help cement it, even if the initial experience was,
Okay, so hunt for the nugget, even if it's buried deep. Got it. What about when the presentation feels shaky? Like the speaker doesn't quite grasp the core subject, or maybe they're missing key parts?
Yeah, this requires real discernment. The sources warn against getting puffed up, developing this critical spirit just to feel superior. That's not the goal.
You can't just swallow everything either.
No, definitely not. Remember the Bereans and Acts, they were praised for checking Paul's teaching against the scriptures. So you assess, is this genuinely shedding light on the topic? And if it feels off, maybe if it's appropriate, you offer some gentle, constructive feedback or point them towards better resources.
So less about judgment, more about seeking clarity and accuracy for everyone involved. Okay. Then there's the really tough one. The source calls it the heretical presentation, but maybe we can think of it as presenting fundamentally flawed information.
Exactly. And the sources define it pretty clearly. It's not just a mistake. It's contradicting central foundational truths, sticking to the error, even when corrected, and actively teaching that error.
Okay, that sounds serious. So if we encounter that information that's just plain wrong, harmful even, and the person won't budge, what's the listener's move?
Disengage. Plain and simple. The advice is to step away and find reliable, trustworthy sources. Don't keep drinking from a poisoned well, basically.
Makes sense. Protect your own understanding. So we focused a lot on our role as listeners, but the sources also mention how listeners can actually help speakers communicate better. How did that work?
It's that dynamic relationship again. Listeners aren't just passive recipients. One thing mentioned is, well, praying for speakers, but broadly offering support.
Okay, like letting them know you're looking forward to what they have to share, that you expect something valuable.
Yeah, that anticipation can be really encouraging. It motivates them to prepare well. And then just being present and engaged, looking attentive, nodding along. That feeds energy back to the speaker.
Totally. A dead audience is soul-crushing for a speaker. And afterwards, feedback.
Yes, but make it specific and constructive, not just nice talk. Focus on the content. Here's how this point really clarified the source material for me, or even I wasn't quite clear how you got from point A to point B based on the text. That kind of feedback is gold.
That helps them sharpen their message. Anything else?
One last thing was encouraging potential communicators, spotting people who have a knack for explaining things and encouraging them, maybe suggesting ways they can develop that gift, build up the quality all around.
Wow. Okay. This has been incredibly useful, really shifting the focus onto the power we have as listeners. If you had to boil it down, what's the main takeaway?
I think it's that listening isn't passive. It's an active skill, a crucial part of learning anything. And by being intentional about how we listen, being expectant, aware of bias, checking things, applying what we hear, we can dramatically increase what we actually get out of any experience.
And for you listening right now, remember this empowers you. Being a better listener means you gain knowledge more effectively, you cut through the noise, you don't feel so lost or overwhelmed, you get more value.
Absolutely.
So here's a final thought to mull over. Think back to the last time you were really listening to something important, a meeting, a talk, even a deep conversation. Now pick just one of the ideas we talked about today. Maybe it's consciously looking for one key takeaway, or maybe admitting a bias you might have brought in. How might applying just that one strategy have changed what you understood or how you engaged? Give it a try next time. See what happens.